Okay, so now what I'm trying to do is put some of the finishing touches on this piece. And I'm going to sit with it a little bit and look at it as I pass every day kind of thing, because sometimes you see something and something starts in your head and says, not quite working, not quite working. And it takes you a while to realize that that's something that stays with you. And an instinct sometimes is, or an impression that just didn't come to the surface of the brain. But right now what I'm trying to do is I want to soften the edges, because for me edges make the work more dimensional, or I should say lack of edges. If you have something that's all blurry, it adds a sense of mystery to it, but also atmosphere. So right now I have a figure that's fairly sharply outlined, and I have a shadow that was outlined. I've already done some softening. Now what I've done is I've taken this brush, I don't know if you can see this, maybe against the red here, or maybe against this. I've taken this brush and I cut it with the scissors to make the bristles really short, because I want to rub in and scrub and scrub and scrub, but in a way that's soft. So I don't put charcoal on this unless I need to, but of course it's going to be just like paint. You dab it on there, you're going to get a big bunch of charcoal, and then you wipe it down, so you have to be careful with that. But I also use these little cosmetic sponges when I want to get into a teeny tiny space and my finger is just not small enough. But right now what I've been working on is softening the edge. Can you see that this is sharper right here? And these I've softened a bit. Also, another thing that I did off camera was that I realized part of the reason the shadow was looking weird was because I had darks coming into the pavement here from this wall. Not really from the wall, it was just dirt or something, I don't know. But anyway, I decided to take my kneaded eraser here and just kind of lightly lighten this, again using the strokes, horizontal strokes of the pavement, realizing that there was a line in here somewhere for that row of bricks going into the perspective thing, and a little bit of lightening here and there. And now I'm coming in, oops, you see how that removed material so fast, didn't it? So I may want to, that was a little bit too aggressive, but so I've been going in and just kind of brushing down a little bit to soften, because an edge is simply a transition between one tone and another, and the faster you make that transition, the sharper the edge, and the slower you make that transition, the more nebulous, the more mysterious, and the softer is the edge. Okay, so I want to make a softer edge, especially when I'm under the cape and there's air floating around here. I want to stay dark again, but I want to make this very nebulous, because the shadow needs to have a definite form, but you don't want a sharp edge, okay? Especially when there's light here. The shadow would be sharp again if you only, if the light was coming from a side, you'd only see a little bit of shadow behind the shoe, and that would be a little bit sharper because the contrast is so much. If the light was, you know, closer in, that would even be sharper. But as things are far away up like this, you're not going to have a really big change. The shadow still needs to have its form, so you have to be careful not to overdo this effect, okay? And the other thing is, I know because I'm coming out towards the light again, this side of the shadow can get a little bit lighter. So I'm pouring that in, but mostly I'm working on these edges. Now, blending is not always a good way to get an edge. Sometimes you just don't have enough material and you end up not doing well at all. So sometimes it's a matter of going in and putting in a little bit of darkness here where it's light. And then you can come in and have a little bit of dust to be working with. For me, when I feel like the charcoal drawing isn't working, I call it dirt on paper. When the effect works, I feel like, okay, now it's a drawing. That's just a personal thing that I do, but you may find it entertaining for yourself as well. It's because I had a teacher once, and I said to him, I've got a nice drawing of a face, but I don't have the same feeling I have when I look at the model. And he said, we don't draw feelings, we draw shapes and tones and lines and stuff. And I thought, that's true. However, my emotion is my first judge, my first communication from my brain that tells me something's not working, okay? So I did. I had a beautiful, sweet face, but it wasn't her face. So it was a problem with the shapes and things like that. But also, when you do a portrait, of course, with somebody, it's your face mixed with theirs. Whether you like it to believe that or not, it is. Because we're used to looking at those faces we draw ourselves. I actually find that a pretty part about art, you know. So anyway, it was more apparent when I went to a school where everybody was learning the same method of drawing and method of and working from the same model. The only thing that changed was the position of the easel of each artist, as well as each artist, of course. So it was interesting that in the same process and the same everything, you could see the individual artist in that, how they designed the lines and stuff. So anyway, see how everything's connected with me and it gets like drawing. Okay. And again, another reason I want to err on the side of softening the edges more than sharpening them is because I've got a lot of foggy day going on here. It's unlikely you're going to have fog under over the bridge here and not on this side of the building. I mean, I suppose it could happen, but just not storytelling enough. So I'm going to come here and sort of soften these edges. Although you could say that because there's light coming here, there's a better chance that this edge will be sharp and this edge will be softer as it blends into the dark, you know. Because a lot of times you also don't want your figure to be cut out perfectly with sharp edges, because then it looks like he was cut out and physically put into your scene. And so you want to lose some of your edges where the tones get similar so that you can have him connected to the environment. If that makes any sense. So, but I do like a little bit of definition here to separate the shoulder from the panel and the publicity's torn down and whatever from the background. So it's just a matter of, is that too contrasty? I don't know until I step back and look at it. But right now I want to even out some of these tones without getting my shirt to scratch off stuff I've done lower in the drawing. Again, it's very... It's interesting to get the tones to be subtle, because you feel like you're adding so much charcoal and then you look back and you realize it didn't have much of an effect. You've got to add a little bit more. So anyhow, I like that. And of course, if your paper's not accepting much more charcoal, which this is doing fine, but you can spray it with a fixative to give an additional tooth, but do it when you're pretty sure you don't need to remove anything extra from the drawing that exists, because it's not really that good to kind of try to erase through fixative. If I want to make those brighter, make it brighter and then add fixative to the whole painting. I don't recommend adding just fixative here because you get that sort of blend. It may not work, but anyway, I'm going to continue working on edges. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel and share it with people that you think would enjoy it. Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao.